All right, so today we're going to be dialing into some natural ways to combat sugar ants.
Okay.
You know, those tiny invaders that just kind of show up
Yeah.
the second you leave anything sweet unattended.
Oh, for sure.
We've got a comprehensive guide here.
That's good.
Perfect timing, too, because I'm pretty sure they're planning a full-scale invasion of my pantry.
Oh.
As we speak. And the best part is, these methods are all natural.
Nice.
So you don't have to worry about harsh chemicals or pets getting into anything that they shouldn't.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people, go straight for the heavy-duty sprays.
Right.
Without even considering, the root of the problem.
Yeah, it's like, hold on, maybe we should figure out why they're throwing a party in our kitchens first.
Exactly.
Before we start evicting them with chemical warfare.
Right.
So what's the first line of defense according to our guide?
Cleanliness. It sounds obvious, but you'd be amazed how many overlooked, crumbs and spills can just create a sugar ant paradise.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we're talking those tiny crumbs under the toaster oven.
Yeah.
Sticky residue on the bottom of the garbage can.
Ooh.
Even that, forgotten pet food bowl.
Ouch, okay. That one hits a little close to home.
Yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of leaving my dog's bowl out overnight.
It happens.
Yeah.
But the ants, they're definitely taking note.
For sure.
The guide suggests wiping down surfaces really thoroughly and storing food in airtight containers, and even being mindful of sweet-smelling plants outdoors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you might love that fragrant honeysuckle.
Yeah.
But to a sugar ant, it's like a neon sign saying all-you-can-eat buffet.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So step one is essentially to make our homes less appealing to these tiny invaders.
Yes.
But what about when they've already infiltrated?
Mm-hmm.
I know vinegar is a really popular solution.
It is, yeah.
But our guide goes beyond just saying, use vinegar. It actually explains the science behind it.
Right.
Which I found pretty interesting.
Yeah, vinegar is fascinating because it does more than just, mask the scents. It actually disrupts the ants' pheromone trails.
Right.
Think of it like messing with their GPS system. They leave these scent trails to communicate, to find their way back to food sources.
Right.
The strong smell of vinegar overwhelms their senses. And so it makes it difficult for them to follow those trails.
So they wander around aimlessly,
confused
and hungry. I like it.
Yeah.
It seems almost too simple, though. Can ants adapt to this?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And something to consider.
Right.
While vinegar can be effective,
right,
it's not a foolproof long-term solution.
Okay.
Ants are incredibly adaptable creatures.
Yeah, they are.
And they might eventually find ways to navigate around the disrupted trails.
Gotcha.
That's why our guide emphasizes a multi-pronged approach.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay.
So vinegar throws off their navigation, but what about attacking their sense of smell directly?
Yeah.
The guide mentions essential oils as being quite effective.
Right.
But it gets very specific about which ones to use.
Yes.
Which is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, it's not just any essential oil. That'll do the trick. The guide highlights certain oils that are particularly potent against sugar ants.
Okay.
And each works in a slightly different way. For example, peppermint oil is a great all-rounder.
Okay.
It's got that fresh, clean scent that we enjoy.
Yeah.
But ants find it repulsive.
So it's pleasant for us.
Yeah.
And a deterrent for them.
Exactly.
I can get behind that. What other oils pack a punch?
Clove oil is another good one.
Okay.
And it works more as a contact killer.
Gotcha.
It's high in a compound called eugenol, which is toxic to ants.
So peppermint for repelling, clove oil for direct contact. Any others worth mentioning?
The guide also suggests lemon eucalyptus oil, which is great for creating barriers.
Interesting. So strategically placing these different oils.
Yeah.
It'd be a pretty effective way to deter those little guys.
Exactly. But before you go dousing everything in essential oils, it's important to be mindful of pets.
Of course.
Essential oils can be harmful to animals, so always research proper dilution ratios and keep them out of reach of your furry friends.
Safety first. Absolutely. Now, on to a method that I found particularly fascinating.
Okay.
Borax. The guide calls it a slow-acting saboteur.
Interesting.
I have to admit, that piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
How does something so seemingly harmless
wreak
havoc on an ant colony?
So the brilliance of borax lies in its delayed effect.
Yeah.
You see, borax isn't an instant killer. Ants are attracted to its sweetness and will happily carry it back to their nest.
Look.
However, borax disrupts their digestive system.
Okay.
And over time, this leads to dehydration and eventually death.
Wow. So it's not just about killing individual ants.
Right.
It's about targeting the entire colony from the inside out.
Precisely. And that's why it's important to understand ant behavior. Okay. This isn't just about using any random substance. Yeah. It's about understanding their weaknesses and using that knowledge to our advantage.
Okay, so we've got vinegar disrupting their trails.
Yep.
Essential oils attacking their sense of smell. And borax working as a delayed action saboteur.
Right.
That's a pretty impressive arsenal.
It is.
Of natural weapons. But I'm curious, does our guide recommend any other methods?
Oh, there's more.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm all ears.
All right.
What else does this guide have up its sleeve?
Well, for those who prefer a more immediate approach, there's always the classic boiling water method.
Boiling water? I mean, it makes sense, but is it really that effective?
It can be surprisingly effective, especially if you can locate the ant nest.
Right.
Pouring boiling water directly into the nest will kill a significant portion of the colony, including the queen, which can disrupt their entire operation.
Okay, so boiling water for immediate action. Got it. But I'm also curious about those more preventative measures you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Our guide had something about cucumber peels.
Right.
Which seemed a little out there, to be honest.
It does sound a bit unusual, but apparently ants have a strong aversion to the scent of cucumbers. You can strategically place cucumber peels near entry points or areas where you've seen ant activity to deter them from crossing those boundaries.
So cucumber peels are like, nope, not today, ants.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love that. Are there any other preventative measures worth noting?
There's diatomaceous earth, which is a fine powder made from fossilized algae. It works by dehydrating ants, essentially drying them out.
Interesting.
It's a great option for creating barriers around the perimeter of your home.
Okay.
Or in areas where you don't want ants to cross.
So it's like creating a moat of dryness that they just can't get past.
Exactly.
I could see how that would be effective. Okay, so we've got a pretty good understanding of the different methods, but the guide also stresses the importance of long-term prevention.
Yeah.
What does that look like exactly?
Long-term prevention goes beyond, spot cleaning and requires a shift in how we approach our living spaces.
Okay.
It's about creating an environment that is consistently inhospitable to ants.
Okay, so less like battling an invasion.
Right.
And more like maintaining a peaceful ant-free existence.
Exactly.
I like the sound of that. Where do we start?
The guide outlines 3 key areas.
Okay.
First, sealing entry points.
Okay.
Think cracks in foundations, gaps around windows and doors. These are all welcome mats for ants.
Yeah, I can see that.
The guide suggests caulk, weather stripping, even door sweeps to seal those sneaky entrances.
It's like ant-proofing our homes from the ground up. I'm starting to feel empowered already.
That's great.
That's next.
Next, and we've touched on this before, is maintaining consistent cleanliness. It's more than just wiping up spills.
Right.
It's about washing dishes immediately.
Gotcha.
Storing food properly.
Okay.
And being diligent about crumbs and spills. Leaving dirty dishes overnight.
Yeah.
That's basically like sending out a dinner invitation to every ant in the neighborhood.
Duly noted. No more tempting fate.
Good.
With a sink full of dirty dishes.
Yeah.
What's the final piece of this ant-free puzzle?
The third area, which is often overlooked, is eliminating water sources. We tend to focus on their love of sugar.
Right.
But they also need water to survive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fixing leaky faucets. Addressing damp areas.
Right.
Ensuring there's no standing water. Can significantly impact their ability to thrive in our homes.
It's like we're taking away all their basic needs. Food, water, and easy access. I love it.
That's the idea. Like combining these 3 strategies, sealing, cleaning, and drying. We're making our homes far less appealing to ants.
Okay.
They might wander by.
Right.
But they won't be setting up shop anytime soon.
This is all starting to make so much sense.
Good.
Instead of just reacting to an infestation,
we're
taking control and creating an environment
where
ants just don't want to be.
Exactly.
I'm already feeling more confident about tackling any future ant encounters.
That's fantastic.
And what I appreciate about these natural methods is that they benefit us in other ways, too.
For sure.
A cleaner, drier, and more thoroughly sealed home is generally a healthier home overall.
Absolutely.
Right. It's a win-win situation.
It is.
We get a peaceful coexistence with nature.
Yeah.
And our homes become a bit more comfortable in the process.
For sure.
But before we wrap up this ant venture, our guide brought up a point that I found quite intriguing. Everything we've discussed so far focuses on eliminating ants inside our homes.
Right.
But what about our gardens and outdoor spaces?
Ooh, good question.
Do the same principles apply?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The guide didn't delve into outdoor spaces specifically.
Okay.
But it makes me think, you know those picnics where ants just seem to magically appear?
Oh, yeah.
Clearly there's a whole other dimension to this ant saga beyond our kitchen counters.
Exactly. And it got me thinking.
Yeah.
Are there any specific challenges or considerations when it comes to tackling ants in outdoor environments?
I'm glad you asked that.
Okay.
One of the biggest challenges with outdoor spaces is that you're dealing with a much larger area and often a more established ant presence.
Okay.
You're not dealing with like a few scouts venturing indoors. You're dealing with entire colonies.
Yeah.
With like complex networks of tunnels and trails.
So a much bigger playing field and a more formidable opponent.
Yes.
Does that mean our trusty indoor methods won't work as well outdoors?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Many of the principles we've discussed still apply. Cleanliness remains crucial, especially when it comes to managing food sources.
Okay.
Outdoor trash cans, drills, even fallen fruit from trees can become ant magnets.
Okay. So keeping things tidy is a good starting point.
Exactly.
No matter where you are.
Yeah.
What about those other methods, like essential oils or diatomaceous earth? Do they hold up in the elements?
That's where things get a little trickier. Rain and wind can wash away or dilute these substances, reducing their effectiveness.
Gotcha.
You might need to reapply them more frequently.
Okay.
And their impact might be less potent in a more open environment.
So it sounds like outdoor ant control requires a bit more adaptability.
Absolutely.
And a willingness to experiment with different approaches.
Exactly. And this is where observation becomes key. Take some time to observe the ants in your garden or your outdoor space. Where are they coming from? What are they attracted to? Understanding their behavior and patterns will help you tailor your approach for maximum effectiveness.
It's like becoming an ant detective.
Pretty much.
I love it.
Yeah.
But are there any methods that are like specifically suited for outdoor use?
Right.
Or are we mostly adapting our indoor strategies?
There are a few methods that can be particularly helpful outdoors. For example, creating physical barriers. Using materials like gravel, wood chips, or even copper tape can deter ants from crossing certain areas. These materials disrupt their scent trails and create a texture they find unpleasant to navigate.
So it's like building little ant-proof fences around our precious plants.
Yeah.
What about something like boiling water? Would that still be an option outdoors?
Boiling water can be effective for targeting individual ant mounds or nests that you locate in your yard. However, keep in mind that it can also harm surrounding vegetation. So use it cautiously.
Gotcha.
And only as a targeted approach.
Okay, so targeted boiling water strikes. Physical barriers. Diligent cleaning. And perhaps some strategic essential oil placement. It sounds like we've got a pretty good toolkit for tackling ants outdoors.
Absolutely. And remember, just like indoors, consistency is key. Regularly implementing these strategies will create an environment that's less conducive to ant infestations over time.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Good.
I feel like we've gone from feeling overwhelmed by those tiny invaders to understanding their behavior and having a whole arsenal of natural solutions at our disposal.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what you can do.
It is. It is.
When you understand a little bit about them.
Yeah, well, this is why we do these deep dives.
Exactly.
We come in feeling overwhelmed and we come out the other side
hopefully
with a sense of empowerment.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And a plan of action.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today when it comes to indoor ant control.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored a range of natural solutions, from vinegar and essential oils to borax and even boiling water.
That's a pretty good arsenal.
It is.
Like we said.
And we've also touched on the importance of long-term prevention.
Right.
Making our homes less hospitable to those tiny invaders.
By understanding their behavior,
exactly,
we can outsmart them.
Yes.
And create a more peaceful coexistence.
Love it.
In our homes.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
okay,
I want to circle back to a point we briefly mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The fascinating world of ants extends beyond the walls of our homes.
Oh, definitely.
And our gardens, patios, and outdoor spaces often become battlegrounds.
For sure.
In this ongoing war against those tiny invaders.
They can be relentless.
So let's delve into the unique challenges and strategies of natural ant control in our outdoor spaces.
That's good.
In part 2 of this deep dive,
okay,
we'll explore why ants are drawn to our gardens and the specific challenges we face in tackling them in those environments.
Okay.
We'll also uncover the natural solutions
okay.
that can help us maintain a harmonious balance with nature while keeping those pesky ants at bay.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
I'm ready.
Okay, so we're back.
Yeah.
Ready to delve into the world of ants in our gardens and outdoor spaces.
All right, let's do it.
Now, before we jump into specific strategies, I think it's helpful to understand why ants are so drawn to these areas in the first place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What is it about our gardens that makes them such attractive ant habitats?
Well, gardens provide, the perfect combination of everything ants need to thrive. We're talking food sources, shelter, and moisture.
Okay, so it's like an all-inclusive resort for ants.
Pretty much.
Let's break that down a bit. What kind of food sources are we talking about specifically?
So think about it.
Yeah.
Plants.
Okay.
Flowers. Fruits. Vegetables.
Right.
All of these things can provide a smorgasbord of delicious treats for ants.
Okay, so our gardens are basically like a giant buffet for them.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then you've got things like aphid honeydew.
Aphid what?
Honeydew.
Oh, okay.
Which is basically a sugary substance that aphids secrete.
Interesting.
And ants love it.
So it's like a double whammy. We've got the plants themselves and then these little aphids creating a sugary treat for them.
Exactly. It's like a bonus dessert.
Wow. Okay, so food is definitely covered. What about shelter? How do our gardens provide protection for ant colonies?
Gardens offer a ton of options for shelter. You've got soil, mulch, rocks, wood piles, even the spaces under paving stones. All these places can provide a safe haven for ants to build their nests.
So they're finding all these little nooks and crannies to create their homes.
Exactly. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure for ant real estate.
I can see how that would make it a lot harder to target them compared to like inside our home.
For sure.
Where we have a better idea of where they might be hiding.
Right.
Okay, food and shelter are covered. What about moisture? How does that play into making our gardens so ant-friendly?
So ants need water.
Okay.
Just like any other living creature.
Right.
And gardens often provide ample sources of moisture, whether it's from irrigation systems, sprinklers, or even just natural rainfall. There's usually plenty of water to keep those ant colonies hydrated.
So even if we're diligent about eliminating water sources inside our homes, our gardens might be unintentionally providing that essential element.
Something to think about.
Yeah, it definitely adds another layer of complexity to this whole ant situation.
It does.
Okay, so we've established that our gardens are like ant havens.
Pretty much.
Providing them with everything they need to thrive.
Food, shelter, and water.
Yeah, but that brings us to the big question. What are the unique challenges we face in tackling ant infestations in these outdoor environments?
Well, as we've touched on already, one of the biggest challenges is the sheer size and scale of outdoor spaces.
It's a much larger area
to control.
And to control.
And the confines of our homes.
Right, so even if we successfully target one ant colony, there's a good chance.
There might be others.
There might be others lurking nearby.
Right.
Or ready to move in.
Exactly. It's like playing a never-ending game of whack-a-mole.
I can see how that would be incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, it can be.
Are there any other challenges that are specific to outdoor ant control?
Another challenge is the presence of beneficial insects.
Oh, that's a good one.
And other wildlife.
Yeah.
We want to deter the ants, but we don't want to harm the pollinators or other creatures
right.
that are essential to a healthy garden ecosystem.
So it's about finding that balance
exactly
between controlling the ants
right.
without disrupting
the delicate
balance of the entire ecosystem.
Of nature.
That's a really important consideration.
It is.
And it makes me think that maybe some of those harsher chemical methods
right.
might not be the best approach.
Yeah, they can definitely have unintended consequences.
Yeah, we want to be mindful of that.
For sure.
Okay, so we're dealing with a larger area,
a
potentially greater ant population, and the need to protect beneficial insects.
Right.
It sounds like outdoor ant control requires a much more nuanced approach.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into the solutions. What natural strategies can we employ to effectively manage ant populations in our gardens?
All right. Well, just like with indoor ant control, a multi-pronged approach is key.
Okay, so what's our first line of defense when it comes to outdoor spaces?
Prevention. Like we talked about with our homes.
Yeah. We can make our gardens less attractive to ants.
Right.
By reducing food sources, shelter options, and moisture. Okay, so let's start with food sources.
Yeah.
What are some practical tips for minimizing the things that draw ants to our gardens?
Well, one of the easiest things you can do is to keep your garden clean and free of debris.
Right.
This means removing fallen fruit.
Okay.
Picking up any spilled bird seed and keeping your compost pile well maintained and covered.
Okay, so basically eliminating any easy meals.
Yeah.
For those opportunistic ants.
Exactly.
What about managing those aphid populations we talked about earlier?
Aphids can be tricky, but there are natural ways to control them. You can introduce beneficial insects.
Like ladybugs.
Yeah, ladybugs are great.
Okay.
They love to feast on aphids.
That's cool. Any other options?
You can also use a strong spray of water to dislodge aphids from your plants.
So it's like a mini power wash for your garden.
Pretty much.
Okay, so we're reducing food sources by cleaning up debris and managing those pesky aphids.
Right.
What's next on our prevention checklist?
Shelter.
Okay.
We want to make our gardens less inviting for ants to build their nests.
Right.
One way to do this is to minimize areas where they can easily find shelter.
Okay, so how do we go about doing that?
Well, you can trim back overgrown vegetation, keep your mulch layer relatively thin, and seal up any cracks or crevices in your patio or walkways.
It's like we're taking away all their favorite hiding spots.
Yeah, basically making it less comfortable for them to settle in.
Okay, so we're minimizing food. We're reducing shelter options.
Right.
What about moisture? How do we tackle that in an outdoor environment?
So managing moisture in a garden can be a bit more challenging.
I can imagine.
Than inside our homes.
Yeah, because we can't exactly control the rain.
Right.
But there are still things we can do.
There are.
To minimize excess moisture. What are some suggestions?
Well, one important tip is to water your plants.
Okay.
Deeply, but infrequently.
Okay.
This encourages deep root growth and reduces the amount of surface moisture that ants are attracted to.
So it's about watering strategically.
Exactly.
Okay, what other water-wise tips does the guide recommend?
The guide also suggests fixing any leaks in your irrigation system or outdoor faucets and avoiding overwatering your lawn or garden beds because that creates a damp environment that ants love.
Okay, so it's about being mindful of our watering habits and addressing any sources of excess moisture.
Yes.
So we've covered a lot of ground
when
it comes to preventing ant infestations in our outdoor spaces.
Right.
But what about those situations where we already have an established ant presence?
Yeah, good question.
What natural solutions can we turn to evict these unwelcome guests from our gardens?
Well, just like indoors.
Right. We have a variety of natural weapons at our disposal.
Let's start with one we've already touched on.
Okay.
Diatomaceous earth.
Ah, yes, the mode of dryness.
Exactly.
How does that work in an outdoor setting?
So you can sprinkle diatomaceous earth around the perimeter of your garden beds or near any entry points you've identified. It creates a barrier that ants can't cross because it dehydrates them.
Okay, so it's basically like creating a dry, dusty no man's land.
Yeah, pretty much.
I like it. Are there any other natural deterrents we can use outdoors?
Absolutely. Essential oils are another great option. But as we discussed earlier, it's important to be mindful of dilution ratios and potential risks to beneficial insects.
Okay, so how do we use essential oils safely and effectively in the garden?
So you can mix a few drops of your chosen essential oil with water and spray it around ant trails or near areas where you've seen ant activity. Peppermint oil, tea tree oil, and citrus oils are all good options.
So it's about creating those scent barriers that we talked about earlier.
Exactly, disrupting their trails and making the area less appealing to them.
What about something like boiling water? Would that still be an option for outdoor ant control?
Boiling water can be effective for targeting individual ant mounds. But as we mentioned before, it's important to use it cautiously.
Yeah, we don't want to harm any surrounding plants.
Exactly. So make sure you're only pouring it directly onto the ant mound. And avoiding any desirable vegetation.
Okay, so it's like a targeted strike mission.
Yeah, think of it as a surgical strike against the ant colony.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got diatomaceous earth, essential oils, and targeted boiling water strikes.
Yeah.
Are there any other natural methods worth considering for outdoor ant control?
There are a few other things you can try.
Okay.
One is to create physical barriers. Using things like gravel, wood chips, or even copper tape.
Interesting. How do those work as ant deterrents?
So ants don't like to cross over these materials. They disrupt their scent trails, and the texture is unpleasant for them to navigate.
So it's like building those ant-proof fences we talked about earlier.
Exactly, and it can be a really effective way to protect specific areas of your garden.
Okay, so we're basically using these different materials to manipulate the environment. And make it less ant-friendly.
Precisely.
Now, I know we talked about cucumber peels as a preventative measure indoors. But I'm curious, would that also work in an outdoor setting?
It's worth a try.
Okay.
You can scatter cucumber peels around your garden or near areas where you've seen ant activity. The scent can deter them from crossing those boundaries.
It's amazing how something as simple as a cucumber peel can have such a powerful effect.
Yeah, nature's full of surprises.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've explored a whole range of natural solutions for outdoor ant control. From preventative measures to targeted deterrents. It seems like we've got a pretty comprehensive toolkit.
I think so.
But I'm curious, are there any, overarching principles or strategies?
Yeah, good question.
That we should keep in mind when it comes to managing ants in our outdoor spaces?
I think the most important thing to remember is that it's an ongoing process. It's not a one-time fix. It's about consistent effort. Observation and adaptation.
So it's about being proactive.
Yeah.
Paying attention to what's happening in our gardens. And adjusting our strategies as needed.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're not just reacting to infestations.
We're
creating an environment that's less hospitable to ants.
Over time. With consistent effort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I know we focus a lot on the practical aspects of ant control today. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that ants play a role in the ecosystem.
They do.
They're not all bad.
No, they're not.
So before we wrap up,
Okay.
I'd love to touch on the beneficial aspects of ants.
Interesting.
And maybe even explore ways to appreciate
Okay.
their presence in our gardens.
Yeah, let's do that.
Rather than just viewing them as enemies.
I like that approach.
Okay, so what are some of the positive contributions that ants make to our gardens and the environment?
Well, ants are actually incredibly beneficial in many ways.
Okay, tell me more.
They help to aerate the soil
Okay.
through their tunneling activities.
Interesting.
They decompose organic matter, and they even help to control populations of other pests.
Really?
Yeah, they're like little gardeners themselves.
It's amazing how something so small can have such a significant impact.
It is.
On the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's all about balance.
Balance, I like that.
Yeah.
So how can we shift our perspective from viewing ants as solely pests to appreciating their role in the natural world?
Well, I think it starts with observation. Instead of just seeing ants as a nuisance, take some time to watch them, observe their behavior. Notice how they interact with their environment.
So it's about approaching them with curiosity.
Exactly.
Rather than just annoyance.
Yeah, and once you start to see them as part of a larger system, it becomes easier to appreciate their role.
Okay.
In the grand scheme of things.
It's like shifting from a mindset of battle to a mindset of coexistence.
Exactly. Finding that harmony between our needs and the needs of the natural world.
I love that. And I think it's a perfect note to end on.
I agree.
So to recap,
okay,
we've explored the unique challenges of natural ant control in our outdoor spaces.
Yes.
We've learned about a variety of strategies.
From prevention to deterrence and everything in between.
And most importantly, we've discovered that it's possible to create a balanced and harmonious relationship.
With nature.
With nature.
Even when it comes to those tiny but persistent ants.
So to all of you listening, embrace the challenge.
Right.
Observe with curiosity. And remember, even ants have their place.
They do.
In the intricate tapestry.
Of life.
Of life.
Well said.
Thank you for joining us on this ant venture.
It's been fun.
And until next time.
Yeah.
Happy gardening. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into natural ant control.
Okay.
And today we're going to be shifting our focus to the often overlooked, but incredibly important, beneficial aspects of ants.
That was good.
I know. Yeah. We spent the last 2 parts talking about how to get rid of them, how to deter them, how to prevent them from taking over our homes and gardens.
It's a battle.
It is a battle.
Sometimes.
But today we're going to take a step back and look at ants through a different lens. A lens of appreciation.
I like it.
Because believe it or not, ants actually play a vital role in our ecosystem.
They do.
They're not just those pesky invaders that we often perceive them to be.
There's so much more.
So let's start by debunking the myth.
Okay.
That all ants are bad.
Right.
What are some of the positive contributions that ants make to our gardens and the environment as a whole?
Well, for one, ants are incredible decomposers. They help to break down organic matter, like fallen leaves, dead insects, and other debris, returning those nutrients to the soil.
So they're like nature's little recycling crew.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
What else do they do?
They also help to aerate the soil through their tunneling, which improves drainage and allows for better root growth.
So they're like tiny little excavators?
Yeah, creating those underground highways.
And making the soil healthier in the process.
Exactly. It's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
What other benefits do they bring to the table?
Well, believe it or not, ants can also act as natural pest control.
Really? So they can help us get rid of other pests?
Yeah, some ant species prey on insects that can damage our plants.
So it's like having a little army of ant soldiers.
Yeah, defending our gardens.
I like it.
From those unwanted invaders.
It's amazing how something so small can have such a big impact.
It is. Nature is full of surprises.
Okay, so we've talked about how ants decompose organic matter.
Right.
They aerate the soil. And they can even help control other pests.
Yeah.
It's starting to sound like ants are actually pretty valuable members of our garden ecosystem.
They play an important role.
They do.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us struggle to see past the nuisance factor.
Right.
We're so focused on keeping them out of our homes, preventing them from getting into our food.
It's understandable.
It is, but how do we shift our perspective? How do we move beyond seeing them as just pests to appreciating their role in the natural world?
Well, I think it starts with a change in mindset instead of just trying to eliminate them.
Okay. Let's try to understand them.
Right.
Let's observe their behavior. Appreciate their intricate societies.
Yeah, those little ant cities.
I love that.
It's fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
So instead of reaching for the insecticide, maybe we take a moment to watch the ants.
Right.
See how they work together. Notice the different roles they play.
And the amazing things they can accomplish.
It's about finding that sense of wonder.
Exactly.
In the everyday.
Yeah.
In the seemingly insignificant.
It's all connected.
It is.
Yeah.
And when we start to see those connections, we can start to appreciate the bigger picture.
And the role that every creature plays.
Even the ones we might not always like.
Even the ants.
Even the ants.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I hope you're walking away not only with a better understanding of natural ant control, but also with a newfound appreciation for these fascinating creatures.
I think that's a great goal.
Remember, ants are more than just pests.
They are.
They're intricate parts of our ecosystem.
Yeah.
They're decomposers. They're aerators.
Right.
They're even pest controllers.
They're amazing.
They are. Yeah. So next time you encounter an ant, take a moment to observe.
Right.
To appreciate. And maybe even to thank them.
I love that.
For the role they play.
Yes.
In keeping our planet healthy.
It's all about balance.
Balance? It always comes back to balance.
It does.
Thank you for joining us on this ant venture.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time.
Yeah.
Happy gardening.